It's been roughly 2 months now since Minecraft 1.19 released, and now we're roughly 2 months away from the next Minecon, which means we're 2 months away from the announcement of the next major Minecraft update, which is 1.20. I know a lot of people have probably lost interest in the future of Minecraft because of chat reporting, but let's just pretend that was a bad dream. And even though the last few updates felt like they under-delivered, specifically 1.19, every future update has the opportunity to be better than the last, so let's speculate what we could possibly see in 1.20. As always, if you enjoyed the video, like and subscribe, and let's get on with the show. Ever since 1.13, the main theme of each major Minecraft update has been revamping an older area of the game. First, oceans were updated, followed by villages, the nether, caves, and pretty much the entire overworld when you count everything that's been added since 1.13. Out of every major area of the game, there's only one place now that hasn't been updated yet, and that place is the end. Right when I say this, I already know what some people are gonna say. Oh, but actually, we already had an end update. It was updated in 1.9. And to that I say, shut up, you imbecile. In all seriousness, I get the point that's being made here. 1.9 did change the end drastically, but there's two problems with this argument. First off, saying 1.9 was an end update because it added new features to the end is like saying 1.8 was an ocean update because it added ocean monuments, or saying that 1.3 was a village update because it added trading. There have been plenty of times when all these areas were updated before they received their massive updates. Caves were updated dozens of times long before Caves and Cliffs, and there was plenty of content added to the Nether long before the Nether update, like Wither Skeletons and Quartz. Heck, both Caves and the Nether had more content before their big updates than the End has even after 1.9. So just because the End was updated before doesn't mean there can't be a full-on End update. Secondly, even though the End received a lot of changes in 1.9, like an overhaul Ender Dragon fight in the Outer Islands, there's still not a lot to do in the End. All you really come across are endless islands full of nothing but endstone, chorus plants, and of course the forgotten souls of the ancient builders. The only thing in the End you can actually find that has any value are end cities, but outside of that, nothing. The End pretty much has slightly more content than Oceans did before 1.13, and that can get pretty boring. I know some people are also going to argue that the End is supposed to be a desolate wasteland, but you can still add more content to it while keeping that theme. I mean, Minecraft Dungeons had an End update of its own, so why can't vanilla Minecraft? Is it too chocolate for your taste? There's a lot that the End could add, and I think we all have the same idea of what, but let's read the list anyways. The first obvious thing is more mobs. Outside of the Ender Dragon, there are only two mobs that naturally spawn in the End, which are endermen and shulkers, so more mobs is definitely something that's needed to give you more things to either fight or interact with. One thing Minecraft Dungeons did was add new variants of endermen called enderlings, each with their own unique functions and attacks. And there's also a giant enderman variant called the Endercent, which kind of resembles a mini-boss. If these ideas can fit in vanilla Minecraft, then they could just bring them over lickety-split. They could also create some new original ideas that haven't been done before, kinda like how 1.16 added Striders. The second obvious thing is new biomes. Like I said, there isn't much to explore in the End outside of End cities, so adding new biomes will give you more things to actually explore. And there are a few mods out there like Better End that have already presented some cool ideas. Staying on the topic of generation, they could also revamp the generation of the Outer Islands by adding tons of new shapes and forms of islands, similar to how they revamped the cave generation in 1.18. And speaking of, why not add end caves? The third obvious thing is new blocks. Going back over to Minecraft Dungeons, there's a lot of new end blocks that can be seen, including endstone brick pillars and chiseled endstone bricks, along with a new wood type. There's also these weird purple void blocks that look like redstone blocks, and there's even a liquid variant of these blocks which could be really cool. The fourth obvious thing is new structures. One interesting idea that I have in particular is adding islands that resemble the main End island, but in a more ruined state. So you could have a few broken obsidian pillars with pieces that fell to the ground, and maybe some of the outer pieces could have crying obsidian. The fifth obvious thing is new ores exclusive to the End. Since the End doesn't have any unique ores, there could be at least 2 to 3 ores added to the End. For one of the ores, I think they could take a similar approach to nether quartz and nether gold and either take an already existing ore in Minecraft and add it to the End, or add in a brand new ore like topaz. I don't know why, but I think topaz would fit the End nicely. The rest of the ores could be completely fictional, maybe like enderite or purple gem ore or something. Of course, you can't have new ores without giving them any uses, and one of the most obvious ideas is to create a new set of gear that surpasses netherite, but I know Mojang doesn't want to add new ores to be used for only that specific purpose, so there could be other uses as well. While still on the topic of gear, I think the devs have also stated that they want to have more variety in sets of gear that you use so you aren't just restricted to one set of gear most of the time. Because of this, I think they should add at least 3 to 4 new sets of gear in the end. That way, it could be like picking a game avatar where you get to choose which strong set of gear you want to craft. Each set of gear could have its own strengths and weaknesses to give players more options for how they want to experience the endgame of Minecraft. Because these ores exist in the end, you would probably need a netherite pickaxe to collect them, and I was thinking it should require at least diamond at first, but some people like to reach the end as soon as possible, and this will probably cause a lot of players to skip netherite entirely since it's not super easy to get. I mentioned that there could be other uses for the new ores, and I actually have some ideas on what they could be used for. One idea could be for upgrading your elytra. At first I was thinking each ore could give the elytra its own unique buffs and strengths. However, thinking about it more, this could easily be done with enchantments. So maybe you could collect every ore in the end to create a super elytra that has twice the power as the original, but since you can easily fly out of the render distance already, I'm not too sure if that's a good idea. Moving away from the obvious things, another cool idea I have is to add some sort of compressor block. You know how coal that gets super compressed can turn into diamond? Well, what if you had a block that could do exactly that? Coal is super common in Minecraft and you can find it everywhere, but diamond on the other hand is a much more finite material, so once you've reached the end game, it would be a nice reward to be able to create a block where you can take all of your spare coal and turn it into diamonds. The end update could also take ideas from the nether update and add a new block that allows you to set your spawn point in the end. That way you could live there if you really want to. There's a very interesting idea that the better end mod creates, and that idea is these ancient portals that you can randomly find, and when you activate them and enter through, they can actually lead you back into the overworld. If the end update added something like this, it would make it a lot easier to go from the overworld to the end, and you can go right back to where you were before you entered. There's a lot of ideas that exist. This is only scratching the surface, and of course I don't expect the devs to go with every idea that comes to mind, but if they take the best ideas and go with those, then this update could be something special. Heck, most of the things in the Echoing Void DLC for Minecraft Dungeons would fit really well in the main game, and this wouldn't be the first time Minecraft has added features from dungeons. Pillagers and lanterns were first shown off in the Minecraft Dungeons trailer in 2018, and then they were later announced to be part of the Village and Pillage update. The Ice Ultra was one of the mobs that could be voted for in the 2020 mob votes, and just like pillagers and lanterns, they originated from dungeons. The devs have said that they haven't updated the end yet because they want to focus on the early game of Minecraft first, but at this point they pretty much have added enough content to the early game that it seems reasonable enough to focus on the later game, and since the nether update makes the nether a lot more accessible, that also makes the end more accessible. I've seen some people argue that things like farming and fishing should be updated, and I do think there's possibility there, but those ideas on their own aren't big enough for a major update and would probably have to be part of a larger update or a smaller update. The only other possible idea I can think of for 1.20 is related to the Deep Dark. In 1.19, the Deep Dark biome was added, and along with it came ancient cities. You probably know what I'm gonna say next, but at the center of each ancient city lies a giant Warden statue with a large rectangle inside made of reinforced deep slate. If this statue isn't just for show, then it's possible that they could add a new dimension that you can access through this portal. However, I don't think that they're going to add this in 1.20 because the devs have stated that they won't add any new dimensions, at least until they've updated the already existing ones. So far the nether has been updated, but the end still hasn't been touched, and since pretty much every other area of Minecraft has been updated by now, that's why I think it's very likely that 1.20 will be the end update, and we could possibly see a Deep Dark dimension added in 1.21 at the earliest. It honestly would have been fitting if 1.19 was the end update since 1.9 was the last time the end was updated, so it would have been 10 updates later, and it would have been announced around the time of the end's 10th birthday, but that probably didn't happen because a lot of stuff was delayed. It would also be very fitting, however, if 1.20 was the end update, considering the fact that it would be the 20th major update to the game, and when Minecraft was first released, one of the biggest features added was the end. I know this might not seem like a good reason since 1.10 was garbage, but that was during the Dark Ages, and even though we might be entering an even darker era, it doesn't look like Mojang is holding back on adding lots of content. Since the end is the end game in Minecraft, I feel like the devs would also want to add some early game content as well, so maybe they could take the opportunity to add archaeology, or maybe some of the losing vote features, but I feel like this will make the update too big and probably lead to similar events that happen during Caves and Cliffs. However, they could avoid those kinds of things if they truly just take their time with this update, and by that I mean not having an aimed deadline. I know the devs have stated that they don't have deadlines and only release things when they're ready, but either this is a lie or the release dates of the last few updates was a big coincidence, because the last 3 major updates all released roughly in the same time frame, more specifically the same month. The Nether update released June 23rd, 2020, Caves and Cliffs Part 1 released June 8th, 2021, and the Wild update released June 7th, 2022. See the pattern? They announced the next major update in the fall, and then the following year they released the update in early summer. Now I don't think it's bad to have this kind of schedule, but if they want to make this update as good as it can be, then they should take all of next year to work on it and only, and I mean only, release it once it's actually ready. That way, they might not have to delay anything. Overall, I think 1.20 will be the end update because it's the only major area that hasn't had an update in a while. It would be fitting since the end is 10 years old now and because it would be the 20th major update to Minecraft, and also because right now it's the most requested update idea. I could be wrong about this, but I've made update speculations before in the past, and they've kind of turned out to be correct. After Village and Pillage, I speculated that 1.16 would be the cave update and that 1.17 would be a Nether update, and it made sense to me because you explore caves before the Nether, but it turns out I had the right updates, just the wrong order. 1.16 was the Nether update and then 1.17 was Caves and Cliffs. I did also speculate that 1.17 would be the cave update and that was at least correct. After that, I speculated that 1.19 would be the end update for most of the same reasons I mentioned in this video. I thought that 1.20 would be a sort of catch-up update that would add all of the missing vote features, along with other things like the fletching table functionality, bundles, archaeology, and the illusioner. Once again, I had the order swapped. 1.19 was announced as a wild update which added the Deep Dark and Goat Horn, 2 features that were delayed, and the Mangrove Swamp, which was the losing biome vote feature. If this turns out like my past speculation, then I think it's very likely that 1.20 will be the end update. I know some people are worried that we might never see another update as big as 1.13 or 1.16, but I think the only reason the last few updates turned out the way they did was because Caves and Cliffs turned out to be a lot more ambitious than the devs thought, and because the update was being worked on during the pandemic. The Wild update was probably a smaller update because the devs wanted to take a breather after Caves and Cliffs, but maybe also because they had big plans for 1.20 and wanted to start preparing for it as soon as possible. But who knows? Even though chat reporting will probably ruin multiplayer, I still think there's plenty of hope for single player. Anyways, that's gonna be it for this video. If you made it this far, thanks for watching. If you want to see more stuff from me, consider subscribing. I would really appreciate it. This is the part where you click off.